Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukhaswarupaya Swamine Tapaharine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Krupa Tamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Vireshwarananda Dayamrutabdhim Shri Ranganathancha Vijnana Bhanum Chidananda Rupa Shri Purushottamaryam Dhyayan Hrudisthan Krutinam Hyavaimi. Friends, it gives me immense pleasure to be in the panel of speakers in connection with the Chicago address of the great Swami Vivekananda. I am extremely thankful for this to Srimad Swami Jitakamanandaji Maharaj and also Swami Ekagamyanandaji, who, so to say, is instrumental in this development. The subject I have been asked to say a few words about is the religion preached by Swami Vivekananda, or the universality of the religion preached by Swami Vivekananda. Remember, sisters and brothers, these three words constitute the gist of the religion Vivekananda spoke about. Universal brotherhood. We are all sisters and brothers. In fact, Swamiji did not stop at that stage. He went further ahead and said, it is not universal brotherhood that is the aim of Sanatana Dharma, the eternal religion or the Hindu religion. It is universal selfhood. I am you and you are me. You are not my brother. You are not my sister. You are my own self, resident in a masculine body, and you are my own self, resident in a feminine body if you are my sister. You are my own self. I and you are one and the same. Because what is that I? It is the self. Self is only one because it is infinite. In a lecture that he delivered in London, a beautiful lecture, step by step, he leads the audience to the point that there is only one. Most beautiful talk. And therefore, there is enough basis, enough justification for the religion of selfhood. Unfortunately, it is exactly this that we are very much ignorant about. Knowing about one's own self should have been the first lesson a human being is made to learn about. I would say, who you are, should have been the topic of discussion, topic of contemplation, topic of meditation for the pregnant woman, for the sake of the child that is there in the womb, right from the stage that he or she is a zygote itself. My child, you are universal, you are infinite, you are one, you are imperishable, you are almighty, you are divinity. Fire cannot burn you, sword cannot cut you, water cannot drench you, air cannot dry you up. You are beyond everything. You are beyond everything perceivable. You are beyond everything conceivable. You are beyond everything that constitutes the world outside. Everything that the external nature has got. You are beyond all these things. Atita. In fact, there is a whole state of mind to enjoy this Atita, the beyondness. There is a world of this beyondness. One can enter into that world who are all eligible to enter into that world, all are eligible to enter into that world, provided you fulfill the criteria. The greatest criteria and the foremost criteria is that you must have that tremendous yearning to enter into that. In fact, the goal that Indian philosophy has set before every human being is to be eligible to enter into that world, the world of beyondness, the world where you can feel that infinitude, that marvelous world. What is that world otherwise called as? It is otherwise called also. What is it otherwise called as? Turiya Vastha, the transcendental state, where you are one. When you enter into transcendental state, you feel the oneness of the whole existence. Narendranath took Sri Ramakrishna to task when he said there is no difference between anything, as he was reading out certain passages from Ashtavakra Samhita. He poofed the contents of the book Ashtavakra Samhita. He was still a young boy, Narendranath. These rishis, the ancient rishis of India, must have been lunatics. Otherwise, how would they say meaningless things like this? Everything is one. The whole existence is one. The word difference is totally meaningless. It has got a tremendous limitation. The meaning of the word difference has tremendous limitation. It's confined. All these things are said in Ashtavakra Samhita. Sri Ramakrishna deliberately wanted Narendranath to read out all such passages because that was the religion Narendranath had to be trained in. That was the religion towards where his basic natural inclinations were. And Sri Ramakrishna, being a master craftsman, would always train up his disciples only in the field where they have already toiled somewhat, where they have already toiled to a certain extent. He was a great promoter of the fact that one should be trained up oneself only in the natural bhava. He was very particular about that. He was the last man to disturb the natural bhava, the natural state, natural propensity, the inclination of the seeker of the fulfillment, spiritual fulfillment. So Narendranath had that Advaitic inclination. Though Narendra himself did not know, Sri Ramakrishna knew it. Perfectly he knew. He could know the past, present, future of every disciple, every devotee that approached him. That is a known thing for us all. Having fully known that Narendra had that inclination natural, he wanted him to read out certain passages from the Ashtavakra Samhita, which is out and out Advaita treatise. And these were the contents that he was reading out. The emphasis on the oneness of the existence. Narendra could not reconcile. Not only that, he stopped reading out, came out, and entered into a sort of conversation with Hazra, who was there, sitting under the tree there, on a bench, and purposefully to tease Sri Ramakrishna, he took up this discussion, this topic for discussion, while puffing this smoke. He invites the attention of Hazra and says, "See, Hazra, there is no difference between me and the smoke. We are all one." What a ridiculous thing. He wanted Ramakrishna to overhear that. Ramakrishna heard it. He became a bit annoyed at the reluctance of Narendranath to understand all these things. Not only that, at the way he was treating this most marvelous Advaitic teaching. He wanted definitely Narendranath to understand this topic. Sri Ramakrishna had 100 ways of driving home the topic that he wanted to teach to his disciples. Not one method he used for all. He would invent newer methods. He would see to it that every disciple would get the gist of what Ramakrishna himself wanted him to know about. Otherwise, he would not rest at all. So Ramakrishna took this very seriously. His chief disciple, Narendranath, who would be the future teacher of the world, not accepting this Advaita treatise was something that disturbed Ramakrishna really. He came to Narendranath and in a very natural way, casual way, "What are you talking about?" So saying, he touched Narendranath. That one touch made Narendra see the whole creation simply merging into a big void. No difference at all differentiated creation, losing its difference. The diversity is gone. There is only one unified whole, totally undifferentiated. He is clearly feeling the oneness of existence. No Dakshineshwar, no banyan tree, no Ganges water, no buildings around, no even Sri Ramakrishna, no Narendranath, no Hazra, no pipe, no puff. Everything has merged, lost itself into the infinitude of which all these things are just different apparent aspects of. This experience did exist in Narendra for weeks together, at least for a week, if I remember well. He could not come out of the, in fact, crutches of this experience, I would say. He was totally arrested. He was engripped in this experience, seeing only the unity everywhere. No question of diversity whatsoever. Swami, one great Swami of Ramakrishna Mission, Swami Harshanandji Maharaj, while explaining this incident in one of his speeches, puts it in a very beautiful way. What he described this as, he said, what Sri Ramakrishna could not do with logic, he did with magic. So Ramakrishna logically could not convince Narendranath of the unity of existence. But with a magic, he had one touch, as Swami Abhedananji puts it in the Onkara Vedya, Samsparsha Matrena, Nrunam Samadhim. Just with one touch, with one wish, he would wake up the coiled up Kundalini and would see to it that it straight away enters into Sahasrara, making the sadhaka enters into that transcendence, that beyondness, beyond names, beyond all names and all forms. Oneness, what a joy. It is not joy, what a bliss, unbroken, indescribable, infinite. How much Narendranath yearned for this. How much sincere spiritual seekers always yearn for it. Vivekananda says, Sri Ramakrishna himself had said, the Guru of Sri Ramakrishna, Totapuri, also had said, this ability to enter into transcendence, into transcendental state is innate in every human being. You need not acquire it. It doesn't come as a result of your spiritual sadhanas. They are already there, but there are some obstacles. Remember, the whole scope of spiritual sadhanas is to just remove this obstacle. So many obstacles are there. The great Swami, in fact, encapsulates all those obstacles into one single word, that is hypnotization. We all have been hypnotized into the present state, the apparent state, the ordinary state. The extraordinary is hypnotized into the ordinary. The infinite is hypnotized into the finite. And the unity is hypnotized into diversity. What today we should do is to just dehypnotize ourselves. We will have to the whole yoga is a process of dehypnotization. Whether you want to be an out and out spiritual man or not, even if you want to be a king, even if you want to be a businessman, a very rich businessman, even if you want to be a business doyen, even if you want to be a very, very Himalayan personality, so to say, a mountainous personality, whatever may be your goal in life, whatever may be ultimately you are aiming at, remember, the easiest way is this dehypnotization. Through dehypnotization, all these glories of man, conceivable as well as visible, possible as well as real, all these glories that are already hidden, contained in the Atma, will become manifest. If your kingliness becomes manifest, you will become a king. If you are being a business doyen, the ability to be a business doyen, which is hidden, latent inside, becomes manifest, you become a great Bill Gates, or a Narayan Murthy, or an Ambani, or a great Tata. if a poetic faculties, scientific faculties that are already there, hidden, when they become manifest, you become a great scientist. So, dehypnotization is the watchword. And how to achieve it? Go on meditating, contemplating upon your true nature. In truth, you are not Mr. So and so or Mrs. So and so or Miss so and so. In truth, you are never anything which is qualifying you. No adjective is relevant, remember, in serious spiritual life because they are all apparent. Whatever is apparent, whatever is relative has no place in the higher pedestals of spiritual journey. What we are interested is only in absolute. That is Vairagya. For a person that has chosen this way to realize his goal, the foremost and the first requirement is that he must have that tremendous spirit of Vairagya, Viveka and Vairagya. These are very important. So, Vairagya means denying yourself everything from your own body up to Brahman because they are simply instruments around you. Go on, deny. Neti. Dehypnotize yourself. I am not this. Whether you want to be a spiritual seeker or not, this is going to be the way and this is going to be the easiest way. Swamiji puts it so beautifully. Therefore, first thing that we have to do is to teach everyone his true nature, not the apparent nature. Teach everyone his true nature. Come out of this hypnotism of weakness. This hypnotism, always remember, breeds weakness in you. All our weaknesses, whatever may be the nature of it, can be ascribed to only one root, one source, that is, we are hypnotized. Hypnotism gives rise to all sorts of weakness. Dehypnotization divests all this hypnotic fervor. It eliminates, takes away all this hypnotic fervor and the consequences of the same. Swamiji therefore emphasizes, teach yourself, teach everyone his true nature. Come out of this hypnotism of weakness. What will be the result? Power will come, purity will come, glory will come, goodness will come. Only so much? Everything that is excellent will come once the sleeping soul is roused to self-conscious activity. Several things are there here which we have to pay attention to. What is that? Once the sleeping soul, the soul is sleeping. With the sleep itself, we are able to achieve so much. In the sleeping state itself, we have been able to achieve so much. Though we are asleep, we have been able to achieve so much. Once you are woken up once. If we wake you up, what will be the consequence? How much more glorious you will be? How much more magnificent you will be? How much more range your achievements will acquire for themselves? What will be the range of your ability? What will be the level of your competence? We are all in sleeping stage, as Swamiji says. The sleeping soul has been able to achieve so much. Once it becomes open up, once the sleeping soul is roused to self-conscious activity, presently we are in body-conscious activity, presently we are in mind-conscious activity, we are materially conscious, we are mentally conscious, we are physically conscious, we are not conscious of our own self. Self-conscious activities are not there. So, the religion that Swamiji preached is to search for truth about your own self. Once you are able to know what you are through the vigorous search that is afoot, remember, the external nature also starts revealing out all its secrets. Even a scientist who is interested to know the secrets of the external nature should take resort to it. In India, spirituality is all pervasive. For science, we have one type of training. For spirituality, we have another type of training. We don't have any such thing. We don't have any such thing. We have only one solution for all our problems. That is the unique nature of Indian philosophy of life. We don't believe in 101 solutions for 101 problems. Each problem has got its own solution. No, India does not accept it. India has long ago found out problems are many, but the solution is one. Our solutions are not temporary. We don't believe in hodgepodge. We don't believe in temporary solutions. Problems are understandably many, but the solution is one. Swamiji puts it very clearly. He says, problems are understandably many, but the solution is one. Man must become a new kind of man, who simultaneously being scientific and spiritually becomes free. This new kind of man, who works in a balanced manner with his head, heart, and hands, who has driven out all smallness, pettiness from his heart, who has realized the unity of existence in his expanded consciousness, the selfless, fearless man of character, enlightenment, and love is the hope of the world. This is the hope of the world. Prepare more such, world becomes extremely brilliant. The world will improve itself. A new order of things will come. A new renaissance will come. Hope is not in more machinery. Hope is not in cleverness of politics. Hope is not in wealth. Unfortunately, the countries of the world, they are hypnotized into this. More wealthy we are, more hope we will have. More science and technology we will have, more hope we will have. More industries we will have, more hope we will have. We want wealth. Who denies that? Every individual, every nation needs wealth. We want wealth. We want politics. We want technology. We want material affluence. Everything we want, no doubt. But remember, they all count for zero. We all know what Sri Ramakrishna used to say about all these things. He would compare all these things to zero. He never said they are meaningless, they are valueless. They have a value, and that value is equal to zero. Ramakrishna would further go and give a greater description. Further he would describe to make the concept clear. Zero has got a value only when it is found by the side of a number, a numeral. If you write zero from here to New York, it has no value at all. You have trillions of zeros placed one by the side of the other. That is all the thing you can say about. But if you put one number, say 1 or 2 or 3 up to 9, any number you want, all of a sudden, suddenly, it gets a value. Write 2, put a 0, the 2 becomes 20. 10 times its value increase by putting 1 0. 1 0 can increase the value by 10 times. Put another 0, 2 becomes 200. 100 times the value is hiked. It is lifted up. 0 has a value only when the essential element, the most meaningful element, the inevitable, the essential element is before that. 0 must follow, and 0 should not lead. Wealth must follow, politics must follow, science and technology must follow, they should not lead. They must be the secondary goals, it should not be the primary goal. They should not be the primary goal. Primary goal is what? Man must become a new kind of man who simultaneously becomes scientific and spiritual, eventually becomes free. A man who is a blend, a perfect blend of scientificity and spirituality, who can enjoy the freedom as a result of this science and spirituality, is the real hope. He is the numeral. Science deals with external nature. Spirituality deals with inner nature. When you are a master of your inner nature, you need not separately master the external nature. This is the gist of Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad. Shvetaketu, the son, one day was summoned by his father and Guru Aruni and was given a banyan seed. And Shvetaketu was asked to cut it into pieces. He cut them into pieces. What do you find? The father asked, small pieces. Cut them further. Individually, every piece was taken and it was further cut into still smaller pieces. What do you find? Still smaller pieces, micro in nature. Take each cut of each piece of them and go for further cutting. Shvetaketu says, I have cut, but I am finding nothing. What do you find? I have found nothing. Aruni says, no, it is not nothing. It is everything. It is everything. Amorphous that piece may be, insignificant it may look. Remember, the huge banyan tree is inside this invisible micro seed. Like that, Shvetaketu, the whole universe, the constellation, the supernova that you are amazed at, the Milky Way, the huge universe, amazing, awesome. It makes you awestruck. This huge universe can be compared to banyan tree, and this invisible micro piece can be compared to your own self. It is within your own self that the whole universe is encapsulated. The external nature is hidden in that inner nature. Therefore, the whole externality loses itself in the internality. Science loses itself in spirituality. And the whole external nature loses itself in that innate self of you. Once you know yourself, you have known all. You need not try to know science once you have that spiritual knowledge in you, once you have that spirituality in you. Study of external nature will become irrelevant once you have that spiritual knowledge. India followed exactly the same method. Indian seers, the sages of ancient days, of yore, they never bothered to study the external nature. They went on studying the internal nature, the innate nature, the self of man. Sciences came, power came, purity came, glory came, goodness came, everything came. All the branches of knowledge were learned. They were mastered. In fact, in Mundukopanishad, a student asked his teacher a beautiful, very relevant, very significant question. Sir, what is it by knowing which I can know all? Kasmin bhagavo vijnate sarvam idam vijnatam bhavati. Sir, what is it by knowing which I can know all? The Guru says, Dve vidye veditavye. There are two branches of knowledge by knowing which you have known all. Parat, aparat cha. They are called as lower sciences and higher sciences. Remember, lower sciences are included in the higher sciences. Studying external nature constitutes lower science. The knowledge of external nature is lower science. And knowledge of one's own nature, inner nature, is the higher nature. It is exactly this that Krishna makes a reference to in Bhagavad Gita. Adhyatma vidya vidyanam. O Arjuna, among the knowledge, I am spiritual knowledge. Among all knowledge, I am spiritual knowledge because it is inclusive of all. So what was the question that was put forth by the Shishya, the disciple? Sir, what is it by knowing which I can know all? See the audacity of the man. He is not interested in knowing merely physics, merely mathematics, merely economics. I should know all. That was the ancient academic culture in India, which of late was put into the most incompetent hands and became corrupted. And today we have perhaps a worst education system put forth by Macaulay of England, and we are yet to revise it, and we are yet to revive the old glory that appears to have been lost, at least temporarily. Anyway, it's a different question. By knowing the inner nature, by having the spiritual knowledge, you can have all the knowledge. The whole universe can be known. Here, Swamiji emphasizes upon the man. Every time a prophet comes, along with him, he brings a new God. Jesus came, Father in heaven came, Buddha came, God did not come, but a concept came, that was nirvana, a state of mind or an aspect of truth or truth itself, whatever you may call it is. Buddha brought that nirvana, almost imparting to it the characteristic of Godhood. And Muhammad came and he brought Allah. Vivekananda came, he also brought along with him a God. You know who was that God? The man. Man was God to Vivekananda. Vivekananda's attention is to worship man. Vivekananda's emphasis is to worship man. How to worship a man? Knowing a man is all the thing that is needed. Knowing man is nothing but, nothing less than worshipping a man. Every man must know himself. Thereby he is offering the perfect, highest worship to himself. We have seen in Chandogya Upanishad, when you have offered worship to your own self, you have offered worship to the whole universe, because the whole universe is impregnated in you only. It is within you only. So according to Vivekananda's philosophy, religion that was preached by Vivekananda, there is absolutely no scope for atheism. No one can become an atheist. No one can say, I don't believe in God. Because for Vivekananda, according to Vivekananda, your God is your own self. Can anyone deny the existence of one's own self? Can I say I don't exist? Then who is that entity that is denying my own existence? I can never say, I may say this does not exist, that does not exist and all. I can never say I myself don't exist, because the very denial itself proves the point that I am existing. So Vivekananda in one stroke totally washed off all tendencies of atheism. Not only he washed off atheism, he brought a new, more intensified religious fervor, because I know everyone is interested in his uplifting. Everyone is interested in achieving his own glory. Everyone is interested in making himself a magnificent personality, a history maker, the cynosure of all eyes. So Vivekananda gave a religion which is universal, which is logical, which is totally rational, and which is extremely scientific. According to Indian Vedanta, religion should not be accepted on its face value. Just because a book says, just because a prophet says, you need not accept it. The greatest of the recent prophets, Sri Ramakrishna, used to tell his disciples, test me, test my teachings, test me day in and day out, test my teachings also. In fact, one day he went to Divine Mother and even offered a prayer, Oh Ma, send me a disciple who will subject every bit of my teaching to a severe test. I don't want these people to simply accept and swallow whatever I say. I want at least one disciple who will mercilessly, ruthlessly subject every bit of what I say to the test of verification. Please send one such. As an answer to this request put forth by Sri Ramakrishna, a disciple did come, and he just did this exactly, and that was none other than Narendranath, who later became the great Swami Vivekananda. So, the religion preached by Sri Ramakrishna and Narendranath is an echo, a summation, an encapsulated form of the whole teachings of the Upanishad, which also emphasizes this questioning. In fact, there is an Upanishad that bears the name Prashnopanishad, Upanishad full of questions. Krishna also emphasizes upon that. Sri Ramakrishna emphasizes, Buddha emphasizes, Sri Shankaracharya also equally emphasizes. Therefore, the religion that was preached by Vivekananda, the message that Vivekananda has given to all mankind is that all are open into the temple of this religion. There is no question of denial of entrance for anyone into the temple, because your own body is your temple. In fact, there is a stanza, there is a shloka in Indian religions. It says, Deho Devalaya Prokto, Jivo Devaha Sanatanaha, Tyajet Ajnana Nirmalyam, Soham Bhavena Pujayet. Your body itself is your temple. The inner shrine is your own mind, the sanctum sanctorum, and the installed God is your own soul. Your own soul is the installed God, and the mantram that you have to repeat, the mantram, the hymns that you have to chant is Soham, I am that, Shvetaketu, Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, Soham, I am that. So, this is the religion that Vivekananda taught, most universal, as I said, and which is promising, totally promising. In fact, I can cite hundreds of examples who simply by lifting their own confidence level, who simply having more and more faith in their own abilities have seen metamorphic changes taking place in their own lives. Hundreds of such examples are there. It is a beautiful message. This message has been picked up by a Harvard psychologist, William James, who was an ardent disciple of Vivekananda, I would say. In a letter that William James has written, or on a chit of paper, once William James is known to have given that chit of paper to Sarah Bull of Cambridge in the eastern coast of America, where he addressed Vivekananda as my guru. So, William James can, for all practical purposes, be counted as a chela, a shishya of Swami Vivekananda. He picked up beautiful message from Vivekananda's teachings here, and he is known to have later come out with a message that men can change themselves by changing their attitudes. The greatest invention of 20th century, according to William James, is men can change themselves by changing their attitudes. Not even so much. We have a book that won Nobel Prize for its author. Alexis Carrel is the scientist, author. The book is The Real Man the Unknown. If you examine the contents of the book, you will find it is just an descriptive version of the talk that Swamiji delivered in New York. Perhaps it was in Brooklyn, I don't know, somewhere around New York. And the topic of the discussion for Swamiji that day was the real and the apparent man. This one speech, the real and the apparent man, later took a bigger version at the hands of Alexis Carrel, and what a demand is there for that book. It won him the Nobel Prize. One talk of Vivekananda can earn a Nobel Prize for any person who can properly deal with that, who can properly treat that. If that is the thing, 9 volumes of Vivekananda, how much relevant they are to the modern generation, the younger generation. Vivekananda never uses the word believe. Belief has no place in Hindu philosophy, in Sanatana Dharma. Verify, test, verify, and then accept. All the truths taught by Sanatana Dharma are all verified truths, and they are open for re-verification. Any number of times you can verify. Just as you verify Newton's laws, just as you verify so many laws in chemistry, etc., etc. Vivekananda himself has said that in one of the places where he has made this point very clear to the audience. He says, in my view, the laws of the religion should be subjected to laws of verification through experimentation, observation, and inference, just as we do with the laws of physical sciences like physics, chemistry, etc. If any law of religion fails to stand up to the expectations, fails to stand up to the contents of it, the spirit of it, in the process of verification, throw away that religion, throw away that law. It has never been a religion. It has been a trash all along. And it will never be a religion in the future either. So according to Vivekananda, even religious laws must be mercilessly subjected to test of verification, just as we do with the laws of physical science. And they have to live up to the spirit of them. If they don't, then they have nothing to do with that. So everywhere it is experimentation, conviction, acceptance, no belief, no dogma, no book. Each soul is potentially divine. I shall sum up the religion preached by Swami Vivekananda. Each soul, not only an Indian, not only a Westerner, not only a Hindu, a Christian or a Muslim, each and every soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity by controlling nature external and nature internal, and be free. Do this controlling nature external and internal should be done by either Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga or Raja Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, by one or by more, by all of these, in whatever way that you want, and be free. We know what is Karma Yoga, selfless work. What is Raja Yoga? Control on your own mind, the inner tendencies. We know what is Bhakti Yoga, purifying your emotions and directing it towards the infinitude, the God. And what is Jnana Yoga? Knowing one's own self, is the Jnana Yoga. Who am I? Adopt any of these 4 methods, through more than one method, and be free. And what about the conventional religions? This book, that book, temple, mosque, etc. Books, mosques, churches, temples, etc. are all secondary details. If you want, you can adhere to them, otherwise you can keep them aside. Remember, Vivekananda brought a renaissance in the spiritual field, and through that, in the entire world of human activity. He changed the vision of man.